round out that discussion, we have a presentation next on the erosion control side that is also included in that La Ciénega's restoration environmental assessment that's ongoing. So, with no further ado, let's bring up Trevor Hare, erosion rockwork maven. We'll just call you a maven.
Thank you. I don't do any rock work myself. I just point to my crew doesn't know this. And apparently, according to Austin, I'm an historical model because I started working down here in the 80s.
You want to get in as a variable?
So, let's see if the clicker works. So, just always have to start out with a real pretty picture. I took the crew and my boss down to La Ciénegas. You'll see I have a project on Empire Gulch, but the boss wanted to go see where the beavers are going to be released. So this is just south of Fresno Gap. And it's really nice. Shangri-La is right.
Point it this way.
Oh, the down button. There we go. So acknowledgements. A lot of this funding has been coming through the Ciènega Watershed Partnership. Thanks, you guys. The prioritization process was funded by a cooperative agreement through the BLM to Ciènega Watershed. And then Pima County has just been rock stars providing places to work and tons of match, and we really appreciate that. Bureau of Land Management, we are doing some work on their lands, but they are also agreed, as was mentioned earlier, to put all these sites into their larger landscape scale EA. Bureau of Reclamation and Arizona Department of Environmental Quality are our funders, and then a bunch of other cooperators. Meade Meyer was my project manager. Amanda Smith was her intern at PAG and did all the GIS analysis I'm about to talk about. She's now with the Snoren Institute. Gita Bodner was very involved, along with all the agencies also, so I appreciate all the help on this stuff. So the prioritization started with a small work group. It was Ben Romilly and Sheila and me and Gita and myself and Amanda came up with this goal to develop a long-term regionally coordinated plan for restoration of eroded riparian habitats and grasslands. So basically 2 processes happen: a GIS analysis of soil erodibility, slope, runoff potential, and proximity to linear infrastructure, and then expert review and knowledge gathering. So I talked about those biophysical factors of erosion. What really needs to happen next in our GIS analysis, and I would love to be able to share this widely, get it onto some sort of online application that people then can start plugging in the things that are important to them. You know, are there historic structures or archaeological sites at risk? Is there infrastructure at risk? Is there threatened or endangered species habitat at risk from this erosion? Water resources or publicly visible and popular recreation areas, and then also those feasibility factors that have to go into this planning. Position in the watershed, access issues, logistical issues, cultural clearances, NEPA, 404 permitting, and then severity and complexity of the problem. You know, for the small amounts of money that we're spending right now, we can get a lot done in the tributary drainages to Ciènega Creek. But if we wanted to work, say, in the natural preserve, on some of the head cutting that's happening in there, we need millions of dollars, not hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we started our GIS model. We have our soil characteristics, specifically soil erodibility, the K factor. It had to be down cycled so it didn't have so many factors. Then we went on to our percent slope. Of course, the steeper it is, the more chance it's going to erode away. And that's, of course, very obvious. The mountainsides are much steeper than the valley bottom. The curve number, your runoff potential number, and I didn't do any of this work. This was all Amanda, so I'm not a GIS modeler, but I do like the pretty colors. And I did the pretty colors just for Vanessa. And then roads, y'all know me, roads are my thing. I hate dirt, but I don't hate dirt roads. I hate dirt roads that are in the wrong place, that are redundant and harm natural resources. So that's always been my big thing, and we closed a bunch of roads on La Ciénega in the past, in That's kind of how I got my start in restoration. But proximity to linear infrastructure, anybody who's been out there has seen the erosion that's associated with our roads, and especially with that gas pipeline, has some terrible erosion associated with it. So then we came together, and I asked through the Ciènega Watershed Partnership and BLM technical teams, the riparian, cultural, landscape, and upland teams, we put together meetings. I asked for expert input onto what we're GIS modeling, and then also asked for what else are we missing, and where are those places on the landscape that you know have erosional issues. So a whole list of people were a part of this conversation, and here's our watershed, Ciènega Watershed Erosion Management and Restoration Plan that we produced. This then went to the BOR and was the basis for the grant that I'll talk about in a few minutes. This is available both on the Watershed Management Group website and the Ciènega.org website. The one thing I've been trying to shop around, and it's a standalone, but it's also attached at the end of this report. And of course, you won't be able to see this, but this is my restoration site knowledge acquisition form. So this went through quite a bit of vetting, and I really feel it's a great thing to for people to carry around in their cars. And when you see erosion sites, make notes. And it's just 4 pages long, goes by pretty quickly. But I encourage people to use this, and I'll be glad to share it with anybody who would like it. People who are doing field work would be great. I've been trying to share it around with the BLM and the Forest Service folks. At the end of this, we come up with our map with our nominated sites. And these were, you see some sites in the Ciènega Creek Natural Preserve. They were nominated by Frank and other folks at Flood Control and Natural Resources. And then I was very aware of a lot of these sites down on the BLM lands, just from working down there so long. We've actually stuck a couple of sites that I worked on when I was with Borderlands Restoration, Stevens Canyon, Bond Canyon over on the Bottle Comery. A couple of sites that we've looked at, private property up above on private up in Gardner. There's some real issues. And then just along with Dave Murray and some knowledge Karen and Jeff brought to the table, identified these other sites. And about half of those sites have now been proposed. Let's see if we can get there. So funding the site work. So first, along with Ciènega Watershed Partnership, was the proponent of this proposal. About $140,000, the Bureau of Reclamation Water Smart Phase 2 program. Phase 1 is to actually develop a watershed plan, and Phase 2 is to implement that plan. So we are implementing that erosion control plan. We will be working, there's 2 sites downstream of Pantano Dam. Again, all these are tributary drainages to Ciènega Creek and have erosion issues. Julia earlier talked about sediment imbalance in the creek, and so trying to heal up the watersheds above the creek is a good first step in trying to halt some of the larger erosional issues in the creek itself. Working at the Horseshoe Bosque site, Davidson Canyon stock tank site. That stock tank has got some erosion creeping up towards its spillway, and we don't want to lose that stock tank. It's an important water right that Pima County holds in the watershed. And then 49 Wash, and I have pictures of all of these to share with you. And then Watershed Management Group wrote a grant, Arizona Department of Environmental Quality Watershed Preservation Grant Program. And those sites are another one downstream of Pantano Dam, very close to the Colosopia Bridge, Old Pantano South Road, or the Pantano Jungle Road area, Empire Gulch, and Gardner Canyon, and 83 Sackatone Flat there that Ron Tiller and Gita had identified as eroding away many years ago. So the process here is the assessment and designs, the site visits with Pima County and BLM personnel, and then I get back to my desk, think about it, look at it online, do watershed side, tributary area, thinking about Thankful, looking at soils and geology, looking for any LiDAR data. That's very helpful, and luckily we've been able to find a lot of that. looking at the historical context of the site, going, a lot of times this doesn't work, but going back 15 years in Google Earth can really tell the story about a site. And then just, again, lots of thought, discussion with staff, experts, and managers. I also like to go back out to these sites and just sit there by myself and look at it. So long and thoughtful observation of these sites is a good thing to do. And then the report, then the designs, the assessment and design reports went out for peer review. Downstream of Pantano Dam, do I have oh, it does work. So here's Colossal Cave. The Colossal Cave Bridge is right there, Vale's right up here. So we've got this very large drainage right here, and then two smaller drainages coming in from the north. And I'll show you an example of what they look like when you get down to the ground in there. Actually, when you fly in closer, this is downstream of Pantano 1. And you can see there's just multiple braided channels through here, which normally wouldn't worry me looking at this. But when you get on the ground and they're all 2 or 3 feet deep, that does begin to concern me. Here's a picture of what that looked like out there. So hard to tell what's going on. The creek, Ciènega Creek, is down cut where this drainage enters it. So this drainage is maybe trying to come into equilibrium with the new grade of Ciènega Creek. There's also a railroad and a bunch of development up above. Well, I gotta hurry. I had a lot of sites to go here. So I'll quickly go through. So I do these very simple PowerPoint drawings of my designs, and they've always been accepted. So just the straight lines are the drainages we're going to put rock structures in, and then Zuni bowls at the top of the head cuts. Horseshoe Bosque area, pretty unique area. We'll be walking in there, but this is what some of the erosion looks like in there. We're not fixing these head cuts. We're going to slow the water as it approaches these head cuts and just try to lessen the speed of the erosion out there. We also have some upland treatment area that David Scalaro of Flood Control have treated before up here, up there, and it's just very barren. It basically like got cut off from all its sheet flow coming in, and so we have a lot of dead plants, and we'll be doing flow slowing structures and plantings out there. Davidson Canyon stock tank, down in Davidson Canyon, of course. Again, we have, here's the spillway right here. We've got a head cut creeping up here. We've got head cuts creeping up the side drainage. So just slowing the water as it goes over the spillway and halting that erosion so we don't lose the berm that's holding the water in that stock tank. 49 Wash, many people know where that is. You can see where the ranch headquarters is down there. Really beautiful place. Probably the most box turtles I've ever seen in one day is along this wash. But you can see here we have Ciènega Creek again, and we have all this erosion happening in these sheet flow areas. Here's the wash, and it's not eroding at all, but these sheet flow areas are eroding again. It's most likely because the creek is down cut and it's all trying to come into equilibrium. So just a ton of one rock dams, media lunas above the head cuts, and Zuni bowls to the rest of those head cuts. Old Pantano South Road, this shocked me when I saw this. This is classic sheet flow captured by road and a giant head cut here. So, and the Ciènega Creek is just below that site. So we'll be fixing that head cut and stop sending so much sediment down into the creek. 6 to 8 foot head cuts. So we'll be putting a rolling berm in to capture water before it gets there, and then laying those head cuts down, putting Zuni bowls in, giant Zuni bowls with a big excavator with a thumb and one rock dams to hold the grade. Empire Gulch. 3 really bad head cuts in Empire Gulch, and it's a live system right now. I was hoping it was dry. We were out there last week, so I wouldn't have to worry about the frogs in there, but we're going to have to do some fancy footwork too for the BLM and the Fish and Wildlife Service to allow us to go in and muck up those nice Chirkow leopard frog ponds. Just an example, there are issues for about the entire maybe mile and a half. Here's the North Road right here, and the spring is right here and the ranch house is right here. There's a bunch of small head cuts that we'll fix. There's those 3 big ones. There's some areas that need grade control, and there's also a couple of areas that we may want to reduce meandering just to slow the water down in there. Gardner Canyon at 83. I'm not paying attention to you. So an old Sackatone flat right here. As you can tell, it's lost a lot of its vegetative cover. I think this may be the old road, and basically stream capture by road, and then tons of lateral erosion coming off of that. So again, just, luckily I can go through those because y'all know what those are already. I've shown them to you many times. But basically just, again, media lunas above to slow the water as it's approaching a head cut, Zuni bowls to halt the head cut, and then I am proposing grade control on rock dams in the drainage itself. And you all know about those. If anybody wants more information on those types of structures I like to use, just come and grab me. Next steps, we're putting a formal agreement with Pima County just to give us the match. Cultural clearances, Pima County is going to do those for us. That's a big part of their match. NEPA compliance, all BOR funded and BLM sites are being incorporated in that BLM EA. ADEQ, I don't have to do NEPA, which is really nice. Planning and logistics, crew equipment, materials, access monitoring, LiDAR, so we've got our baseline LiDAR, installed photo points, and then landowner guide draft will be coming out next month, and then we'll be doing some training workshops around all this work. This, can I just show this one? So this is the reason the WMP is interested. Stop it, Birdie. So here's the Pantano, here's the tank of Birdie coming together. We all know that used to be a giant Ciènega there. And right here we have a beaver dam. And this is WMD's 50-year vision, trying to return flow to Tucson basins, creeks, and rivers.
And who's the artist?
And so if we build it, the beavers will come. There they are right there. Thank you.